Okay, as usual, we're going to start with our prayer of presence. But I would like us to extend it. I would like us to take 2 minutes this time for the prayer of presence. First minute, we do it as usual. So just clear distractions, clear your mind. Just be present and aware of yourself here, of God being here with us. And then in the second minute, I'm going to just give you some cues. Something to kind of add to the focus, okay? So, and then after that, Jesus can pray. Okay, Jesus is not going to pray. Let's take the minute. Try to feel your feet extending just down, just extending down through this concrete, through the ground, becoming part of the elements of the earth that we come from. Imagine them being roots spreading through and holding you tight. Now imagine your head, top of your head, extending up. Imagine it extending up to the seventh heaven, where God is, and where the breath of God that gives us life is. And try to feel being suspended in between. Pulled up and pulled down and just suspended in midair. Dear Lord, this morning we came here to meet you, and that's what we ask you right now. We know that you're here. We are open to hear what you have to tell us, so please speak to us through your word, through our heart, through our mind, so we can understand you better and get closer to you and closer to each other. Amen. I started doing this practice like a while ago of being part of who I am. So we have this idea, and this is what the society imposes on us, that all of us are separate, that all of us are individuals. And like, even though you're married and you guys live a life together, you're still separate individuals. And even though that's your son, and you guys have a very tight bond, pretty much the next one is a bond to God, but still, you're separate, you're individuals. And then, but when you read the Bible, you see that Jesus is not talking about that at all. He's constantly talking about this oneness that we all have. And then we try to rationalize it. And we say, yeah, we're supposed to be one in thought, one in faith, one in ideas, but that's not what he's talking about. He's like, you should be one the way Father and I are one. That's how you should be one. So one thing that I just started doing, and I told you, and what I kind of challenge you to focus while you're in this prayer of presence is that prayer of Adam. Like, what are we? We are elements of the earth given life by the breath of God. And that's what the human being is. You're just elements of the earth with the breath of God that is in you. And then when that time comes and these two get separated, the breath of God goes back to God and your body goes back to earth. That's as simple as life is. But we often forget this. We forget that right now in this moment, all of us are part of the earth. And all of us share this common connection of physical existence. And then at the same time, all of us have this breath of God. All of us have some of God in us that also connects us on the spiritual level. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because one of the highest causes of anxiety, depression, and generally mental illness in our society comes from alienation. People feel like, no, it's too much of people for me. I wanna stay away from people. But the only reason why is because we lost, or we are slowly losing this art of connectedness. And even though we feel super empty when we are detached from everybody, it's overwhelming when we are attached because we lost this rhythm. So I would like us to start, like, in the future, working a little bit more on redeveloping this ability to be connected, not just to each other on like an intellectual level. Hey, how are you doing? What's up? And so on. Or emotional, oh, I don't feel too good. Give me a hug and so on. No. On a deeper level than that, on an existential level and on a spiritual level. We're going to be talking more about that in the future, and this exercise that we did today, I'd like us to kind of try and do it on a regular basis in the future, but I want to challenge you guys to try and do it. If you've been practicing prayer of presence, expand it, double it, and try to envision this connectedness. Now, one thing that I forgot, but we can still do it. Josh, I want to show a video, but we don't. Do we have an audio coming out of here? We don't, right?
Oh, I think we do, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Give me a second. I'll just disconnect it for a moment.
Okay.
Just open it up. Morning. So when you have like Facebook Reel, how do you go full screen? Does anyone know?
Facebook what?
Like a reel on Facebook app. How do I set it as a full screen? Never mind. We'll just go with it.
If only in that long way.
So, okay, you have the. You've got the audio then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see if it works. Do you have an audio?
Oh, yeah, I do. Hold on. I need to turn it off from here.
Look, listen to this.
Wait.
Listen to this. Now, listen to this. Listen to this.
Easy to turn it back there.
Oh, come on.
Listen to this.
Yep, you got it.
The audio wasn't working?
Huh? Yeah.
Listen to this.
Give me a second, I'm trying to Yeah.
Listen to the first clip again. Here's a different one. This. Now this.
The kettle boiled quickly.
And back to the previous one. This proves that your expectations have a massive effect on your perception. And that applies in every...
Now let me see if I can. I don't know why is this thing not, okay. Give me a second.
Do you want to like restart it?
Yeah, I want to just,
Oh, okay.
but that's what it doesn't want to do, that's the thing.
Oh,
Wait, give me a second.
I think it has to be vertical now.
effect on your perception, and that applies in every part of life. So,
I think it's freaking,
I think it's Apple product.
where's my Facebook now? Yeah.
now, listen to this.
They're buying bread.
Okay, now listen to the first clip again. Here's a different one. First, this. Now, this.
The kettle boiled quickly.
Back to the previous one. This.
That's different.
Listen to this.
Different than the first one.
Huh?
It's not the same.
Listen to this.
They're
Like really try to listen to it. They're different.
bread.
Okay, this thing is,
Listen to the first clip again. Here's a different one. First, this.
just listen.
Now, this.
The kettle boiled quickly.
And back to the previous one. This proves that your expectations have a massive effect on your perception, and that applies in every part of life. So, if you expect everything to go wrong, your perception will be warped by your expectation. You'll get confirmation. You'll say, see, I told you nothing ever works out for me, and it'll be true. The way to change your outcomes is to change your expectations.
Thank you. Okay, go back to the presentation. So, the whole point of this, did you guys notice? So the audio clip, that audio sound, first time it was completely kind of, there was nothing in it. You just whatever. But then when you hear the sentence and you hear the audio clip again, what do you get? You can actually make it out. You can hear it, and it's kind of like weird. Well, like why didn't I hear it before? I mean, it was there the first time as well, because like after you listen to the clip again, the second time, the first time he plays the clip, you hear it right away. It's kind of right there. Ah, yeah. But the original listening of the clip is like very peculiar. And the idea is this. What you think is real is not based on objective presentation of what is going on around you. What is real for you is what you make out of it. And what you make out of it is based on all of the filters that you have set the moment you open your eyes in the morning. I had a very, when is that, Wednesday, I had a very peculiar experience with one person that needed help. So it's an Army veteran struggling with PTSD. So his medications got screwed up. And I know him because he would be coming to church, he's a perfectly normal guy. Like, I mean, Everybody has issues in life, but normal guy. You can talk to him about it. He's fine. So he's calling me, Pastor Milos, can you come and pick me up? I think my life is in danger. Long story short, picked him up, took him to the VA hospital, spent with him about 5 hours until everything got sorted out and he was admitted and so on. But the most peculiar thing was spending half an hour with him in the car from when I picked him up to when I took him to the VA. He was so freaking paranoid about everybody. Every single person that walked by, he thought that they had a gun and they wanted to get him. We are finally in the car. He's like looking all around like crazy. He's shivering. His voice is shivering. So we're on the highway and he's like, those guys are tailing us. Come on, move into the other lane. Like, they're not tailing us. And like the car just passes by. You see, they just passed by. Oh, they probably just passed it on to somebody else. And he's looking around. Long story short, he's admitted, his medication is adjusted. I picked him up yesterday from the hospital, taking home. And this is the conversation that we had. He's like, I don't know what to do. Because now, and I'm asking him, do you remember like the conversation? Do you remember? He says, I remember every freaking second. He says, that was the scariest time of my life. But he says, this is the problem. He says, now remembering this, I know that none of that was real. But then at that moment, that was real to me. So I'm talking about a clinical case. But here's the thing. It's not about the environment that he was in. It is the way that his brain perceived the environment that caused him to feel that this was real. Now, everybody's going to say, well, he's just delusional. His medications got adjusted, now he's fine. He'll be fine, and so on. But here's the thing. All of us, his case, excuse me, his case is just an exaggerated version of how all of us perceive reality. Makes sense? All of us have different filters, different experiences that build the way that we see something happening. And there's that old traditional, that Japanese story of a Rashomon. You guys, okay. The whole point of the story, they made a movie, like a really cool movie on it, but the idea is that something happens and there were 5 people observing it. One was right there in the face of it, the other one was on the side, the third one was on top of the building, and so on. And now, like a crime happens, and all of them are called as witnesses to witness what happened, and all 5 of them have 5 completely different stories of what happened. The whole point is this: whatever is real to you is real to you. Even it might not be real to somebody who is observing you from a side and say, "Why are you so freaking out about that? That's not really that bad of a situation." But for you, where you are, like, this is horrible. It could be any worse. Have you ever been in that kind of a situation to witness somebody going through something, and you're like, "Why are you so worked up about it?" But they are, because to them, their reality in their mind is processed differently than the same reality in your mind from your perspective.
They go into a rabbit hole.
Excuse me?
They go into a rabbit hole.
My point is that all of us are in that rabbit hole. All of us are in that rabbit hole, and depending on the level of our worked upness, that's not even a word, but depending on how worked up we are about life, depends how stressful or how relaxing the reality is going to be.
I was going to say, actually, this happened to me this last week. I went into work, and I went into work, and my client was there, I was there, but the front desk person wasn't there. And I called my boss, and she was like, "Oh, here's the code. This is how you get in. You should be able to start your set." And this has happened to me a few times before in the past. stranger, let alone a man. And then later on when she saw me, she told me, you are 100% correct. Even if I was going to justify him saying he's not a bad guy, he's never done anything wrong, I cannot say that that has not been your situation, and you have not gone through something that has made you feel uncomfortable. So I will make sure to never put you in this position again, or anyone else, and assume that this is never going to happen.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is also very relatable to actually you. Let's see, Sean is the only one who is not going to fit into this category, but he's an American, that's why. An American and American only. But you guys grew up in a Hispanic culture. Two of us grew up in a Balkan culture. And you have to admit that you were raised differently than your American peers. Indeed, yes. But here is what that did to you. There are some traumas from back there that right now, when you look at situation, you're like, yeah, that's fine. While for your American friends, you're like, ah, that's horrible. Have you ever been there? We went through war. And there are some things that war does to you. Like, you just don't take pain so seriously. Any kind of pain, physical, mental, emotional. Not that you did, no, that's not, no, you don't take it to heart as much. It's, yeah, exactly. It's pain. Well, I'll freaking deal with it. You know, well, some people need, hello, Mr. Dickey. What happens, and this is where most of the clashes happen between us as human beings. Most of you guys missed like the beginning. When we started, what we were doing an exercise in connectedness, where all of us are actually connected on a higher level than just physical and mental and intellectual. We are connected on a spiritual level as human beings as well, and on an existential level also. But the disconnect happens in the way we process, not things around us, but the way we process things around us inside of our heads. So, last week we talked about abundance. Remember? The whole idea, and we talked about that back in Jenny's place as well. And the idea is that the abundance is something that you simply have. It's available to you. You don't feel abundant because what you have, you don't perceive it as abundance. But it's completely in the power of your mind to change the way you perceive things. Now, what I would like us to talk about today is what drives this process. And what drives this process is desires. God wired us to want. What happens when you stop wanting? You don't know? That's a good point. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. But okay, have you ever seen people who stopped wanting?
What do you mean?
Have you ever seen people who stopped wanting? Yeah. Like, I don't want anything.
Well, in an extreme sense, they could sometimes go to depression. They don't
Okay.
even wanna, they just don't even want to live. They kind of become purposeless. Like if in an extreme case.
Okay. All right, but what does want tied to in then?
Ambition.
Okay, ambition, need, what else? Fulfillment, okay. Accomplishment, fun,
Yeah.
relaxing, like all of these things come with I want. You know? You guys, most of you actually remember Jim Becker. I remember when he started dying. That was maybe like 2 years before he actually died. But he had that attitude. I don't need that anymore. I don't want to deal with that anymore. And he would always ask me to fix his phone. And I'm like, Jim, I showed you this like 5 times already. And then he has this attitude, well, I know you're going to show me the 6th time as well. Kind of like, but and then this attitude started kind of escalating slowly and slowly into every aspect of his life, where I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want that. What do you want to eat? I don't care. And so on. I feel, now kind of looking back, that was a reflection of beginning of his end. When we stop wanting, it's an indication of illness or heading into an illness, but it's also an indication of us being ready to leave. Because as long as you want, life prevails. When you want stuff, what do you need? You need life to achieve it, and so on. So, Christians have tremendous problems when it comes to this. Okay, would you elaborate on the yep?
I feel
At least one the key to life to elaboration.
Okay, I feel like growing up and up to this point, wanting and desiring things has been something I like really struggle with, because I'm constantly telling myself, no, but I shouldn't want that. It's fine. I find myself a lot, and I'm like, but I want this, and I want that, and I want, but it's always like I feel guilty for wanting this, for wanting that, for wanting that. Because I felt like that's kind of what I was taught, that it's like, no, you're not to want, you're to want to give others, you're to want to this, you're to want to that. To want is selfish, and it's bad, and it's this. So then it's like, okay, then I keep telling myself, I keep fighting, I don't want, and then it just holds you back.
That sucks so bad.
We're all looking at wanting as like material things as well, but it's like wanting to pursue a better career, wanting to pursue a better job, a better relationship, but it's like we're all looking at it like material things, like I want a new car, I want $1 million, I want this.
Now, it seems like there are filters in what is good to want and what is not good to want, from a societal perspective, and also from a spiritual perspective. For what does God want you to want, and what is okay to want, and so on, if you're a believer, and so on. But here's the thing: that's not what the Bible says, and that's what I want us to think about right now. Look at these 3 Bible verses, and this is I kind of just picked those because they were pretty obvious. There is more. So Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. How does that sound? Nice. Proverbs 10:24. What the wicked dreads will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted. Are you righteous? I definitely am. Huh? Oh, okay. Well, okay, if we have to go to Jesus 101, we can do that, but all of you are righteous. Are you aware of that? Like, seriously. Hello. Oh, what do you have for us? Oh, thank you. We have banana bread. All right, and then the last one. He fulfills the desire of those who fear Him. He also hears their cry and saves them. Now, where do you see over here a delineation of what is a good desire and what is a bad desire? Where do you see over here a delineation between a good desire and a bad desire? Huh? Apparently you have nothing. Please.
I feel like I see a pretty clear difference between like first one, delight yourself in the Lord first, or I don't know if it has to be first, but like there, and then you get the desires of your heart. The second one is like wicked versus righteous. The second is like the ones who fear Him versus the ones who like don't.
So, but no, I'm asking, where do you see? So, okay, the difference. Where is the line that is drawn over here between this is what you should desire and this is what you shouldn't desire.
I mean, the only bad I see is in the second verse, but it's like the wicked dread it will come upon them. So it's like,
The wicked and
it kind of
righteous.
still ties in how Jenny's like, first you delight yourself in the Lord. If you do not delight yourself in the Lord, you see him, you dread his coming. You dread him.
So the delineation over here is not between a desire and a desire. It's between a desirer and a desirer. Does it make sense? Huh? Who desire? Exactly. Actually, in types of people. Yes. So, God does not have an issue with anything you desire. And that's why I put that first, Psalm 37 first. And He will give you the desires of your heart. This week, Jasmine and I started praying for a new car. I don't know how is that going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. Because I believe that God hears our desire, understands our need, and we will get a new car. And I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try to go out there and get a loan and figure it out and whatnot. That poor Camry, it's hitting 330,000 miles. And like, and yeah. The transmission actually started giving in. The solenoid kind of started screwing up, and then even Obed tells me like if he fixes it, it would still not be worth the value of the car. You know, even if he kind of like so the car is done. Yugo, oh, I found Yugo. My goodness, it's a Yugoslavian car. It used to be sold in the United States back in the 80s. 80s and like early 90s. That thing is like, if you want to lose your kidneys, that's the car. It's the car without shocks. It's kind of like that. It's amazing. But anyways, here's the this is the point. My point is this: when I said that Jasmine and I started asking for a car, I am not planning to go and do it on my own. I am asking Lord to open the doors for us to get a new car. Bless you. I'll see what's going to happen, and I'm going to update you on that one. But, but the whole thing over here, the whole point that I'm trying to make is pretty much what Carolyn, the point that you made in the beginning. There is nothing wrong, quite the contrary, with desiring everything that you desire. That's why I told you, if you guys are reading the Instagram and Facebook posts, think about it for today. What do you want? What do you want? Now, desires evolve as well. There is the process that we go through. But the real question is, what do you want?
God always gives you what you want, but not the way you want it.
Elaborate.
You need to be super specific with your desires and what you want. He'll give you exactly what you want, and then he'll give. But then, like, there's that little twist of like, well, you didn't want this, but you didn't say you didn't want that. So like, you ask for what you want, and then you get it, and then it's never exactly the way you imagined it.
Sometimes it happens because we don't explain it well. Even though He knows what's in our mind, pretty much. But you're right.
Yeah.
We get what we want. Now the problem that we get stuck into, and that video that I posted was really, I was really munching on that a lot. The problem in our, the exercise we did in the beginning with the reality. Our reality check is this. So, very often we focus not on what we desire, but on what we do not desire. Does that make sense? We'll make it, I'll make it the simplest way possible. So, I pray to God for this new car. And here's the thing. In my prayers, I thank Him for a new car. I already see myself in this new car. I don't see the details. I don't see like what's going to be and so on. But I see myself in a new car because I believe that God can fulfill my desire. And
It's a car with the salvage title.
I'll go with the rebuild. That's fine. as long as it's fixed by the Russians, I'll be fine. No, those guys, when they rebuild the car, like seriously, it's like. But there are two ways that we pray. We pray, and this is a lesson from the last week. We pray from the point of scarcity or from the point of abundance. And that's how you create the reality that you see. Just like that audio clip that made no sense first, and then when you heard the sentence, suddenly the audio clip sounds perfectly sensible. In the same way, the reality around you is formed on how you approach it when you communicate to God. Absolutely agreed. He knows what he's talking about.
I wanted to add, Milosh, that I think that God meets us where we're at, because I'm just from experience, like sometimes I'm not the kindest to my mind or with the things that I say, and sometimes even when I tell God, I'm like, you know, whatever, I'll figure it out by myself, I feel good by myself. I feel like God shows up and tells me like, no, I still got you. Even though my bias is now like, I have to figure it out. Life is going this way, blah, blah, blah. And God comes in and tells me like, no, that's not your reality.
That is exactly what happens. But here's the thing. The realization that God brought you to is something that you were aware already before. This was not like an epiphany of a new option. It's something that you knew before, but the circumstances, things, whatever, brought you down. So, and yeah, you're right. God meets us where we are at. And sometimes, due to us being stuck at where we're at, the whole process of Him answering our prayers is slowed down. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. Your desires reflect the reality you want. And your desires reflect, now listen to this. Your desires reflect the reality you will see, no matter what happens around you. God, this car sucks. I really can't drive this car anymore. It's about to break down. I can't stay with this car. That is one way of reality. The other way is, God, I'm going to need a new car. And I thank you because I know that you're going to open the doors for me to get that. And I already see it. Oh, that's going to be good, like low mileage. This is going to be like a good experience. Thank you. You know, and this is now what happens in reality, in objective reality. I walk out there, and have you ever had it? You've seen that before also. I walk out there, and the opportunity just pops. The opportunity just pops for the desired reality to happen. Not for objective reality, but desired reality. I'm going to walk out there, and I'm going to look at my junk car, and like, dang it, I have to drive this right now, sit down and drive away. Or I'm going to walk around, look around, and see a for sale sign. Whoa, that looks nice. I am oversimplifying the whole concept. But the idea is, God designed us to live on desires. If you pick positive desires, positive opportunities is going to be what you're going to see, what you're going to focus on, what you're going to look for, and the thing is that those opportunities have been there already. But if you approach with negative desires, you're going to be blind for them.
To me, a desire sounds positive. A want sounds negative. It's always seen in because the desires of my heart.
Okay.
You don't say it, the want of my heart. You want, I want this. I want this. Like everything seems.
Okay.
I don't know why. To me, in that like the language, it's just like every time it says desires, it's always in a positive light. But it's like in the Bible, it's like your wants are not needed in a sense, but the need, like God provides the needs.
Okay, I understand. And okay, next verse, not yet. But next verse that we're going to read is going to touch more on what you're saying, desires versus wants, and pretty much what we started talking about, that delineation. Dickie.
You know, it's crazy that I had like this experience recently. Because like I had like, you know, I have an old car, and then I was like, I want a new car. And then, you know, you like stress it so much, like to like pray like, oh, like, yeah, like you have it already. So then I prayed like that, and then mine's taking forever. So then like I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna like take things into my own hands. So then I went to the dealership, was gonna buy this brand new truck, and I was like, all right, cool, like, you know, and then payments and all that, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with like how much it is. And then I talked to Chaselyn over the phone, and she was like, let me just look real quick. And then she looked, and then all of a sudden, like everything just like falls into place, like, you know, like she's like, just be patient, you know, like, and then all of a sudden, like, she found this cheaper truck that's like all the way out in like Fort Morgan, good deal, like low miles, and then we did the finances just like how I wanted, and everything is just good. You know? Yeah.
So how do you explain that? What do you contribute that to?
I mean, like I was being impatient because I stressed it out to Sean, like I want a new truck and I'm gonna get it. You know how I am when I want something. You know, I'm gonna get very impatient and stuff.
Too.
But then like I wasn't like letting God like, look, I got you. You know, like just wait. Like the opportunity will come, and then you're gonna have it. Like you already believe that you already have it, but why are you being impatient and like taking things into your own hands?
Thank you very much for bringing a real life example to what we're talking about.
So don't complain about gas then, okay?
Shut up.
And I was about to say, you get a truck. And who's next, Philip? And moving. Like, get a bumper sticker, you know. Yeah, it's my truck. No, I'm not going to help you move.
9 o'clock at night, I call him to move a couch. Just like, God damn it.
And he was so excited about it.
It's not that he was close either. It's not like your neighbors.
I think what's important, what Dickie said, is that, yeah, prayed about it, and then he acted on it, you know? I think that's very important too, because I've noticed that in my life too, like, we end up praying for things and then we never act on it. We kind of never trust God to do it. So Dickie had enough, and then he's like, you know what, I'm gonna jump in. And I've noticed things like that I feel like sometimes we all pray about some things, but then it's kind of like God's like, hey, we'll take the jump, do it. So then I think that's just really important, because I've noticed that in my life too. It's like you could pray, and I think God's sometimes waiting for you to actually jump, and then He'll be there with you to hold your hand, you know. So I think that was just another point I wanted to make.
Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, you know that old joke, you know, about an old Jew praying 20 years for God to help him win $1 million in the lottery, and God gets fed up and He's like, okay, I'll let you win, but buy the freaking ticket already. You know? So, but that's kind of the whole point that Victor is making, and that's true. But still, here's the thing: if you have the attitude of a negative desire, you're not motivated to make the step. If you have an attitude of a positive desire, it's completely logical to make that step. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Like when you're delighting yourself in the Lord, this life is awesome. You bet I'm going to make that step. You know? Yes, I'm asking for a new car. I'm not planning to do what Dickie did, but I'm not planning to wait either. I'm going to look around. You know, because I know that the opportunity is going to pop up. That is how you are a co-creator of your reality. And that is how your reality starts shifting in the direction of your positive desires. Now, let's talk about those, what Sean brought up. Can you please hit the next verse, please? So this kind of explains the issue over here. So Paul says, so I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Now, geez, it's 11:20, we have to finish in like 10 minutes. This is way too short. Like, seriously. Okay, are you okay with packing in 20 minutes?
I can.
Okay, we can help. We have to leave in 20 minutes. No, we by noon we have to be out. I was closed. Yeah.
Is that the new thing?
Yeah, that's the new thing.
Why?
Well, yeah. Anyways.
Anyway,
Don't
okay.
Let's not get this.
Yeah, we're wasting time. Go.
Okay.
So now we're talking about wants. Okay, what are the desires of the flesh? Or like the Old Testament, at least like what David was writing about in Solomon, they're just talking about simply having desires, wanting to live, just being for, and there was no limitations. But over here, Paul now steps out and he says something else. So how do you understand the concept of desires of the flesh? Obviously, walk by the Spirit means that you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So there is this duality that you see over here. You're either spiritual and you live life by the Spirit, or you live life by the flesh. What would this be? What would be desires of the flesh?
Like to covet.
Lie, to steal, things that are not like holy or anything that's like good or righteous.
All right, thank you very much. You summarize it at the end, things that are not good or righteous. Let's try to summarize it a little bit more. What else would be these desires of the flesh? You gave a couple of examples. What unifies them? What is the concept of the desire of the flesh?
Destruction. Destruction.
Destruction, okay? Okay, yes, the desires that bring destruction. Do you have an example?
No, a destruction of the flesh, either yours or the one someone else's. Period. And it could be like even sexual. That's destruction of their flesh and destruction of your own flesh.
Okay.
Murder. That'll be destruction of their flesh. That'll be destruction of your own.
So anything that causes somebody to suffer, anything that causes somebody else pain, in order for your desires to get fulfilled, could be labeled as desires of the flesh, right?
Yeah.
Now we go back to that once. And actually, where's everyone? I want to point it there. Actually. This idea of, as a Christian, you shouldn't want things. You should want to give things and so on. The concept of selfishness plays a role over here. So, desires of the flesh are desires that revolve solely around you and you alone. And if anybody is going to lose in the process of your desires being fulfilled, well, sucks for them. That's the attitude. That's the idea of desires of the flesh. Now, over here, Paul says pretty clearly, if you are connected to God in any way, and if you want to be on a deeper level connected to God, one thing that's going to happen is that these desires of the flesh are going to diminish. Now, can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of how this actually looks like?
You walk by the Spirit?
The whole concept of you walk by the Spirit and the desires of the flesh diminish.
I was gonna say like a change of character, because a lot of the times, but like before you come to Christ, you're like you lie, you steal, you cheat, whatever. But then when the moment you start walking by the Spirit, you're like, well, I don't want to cheat anymore. It feels wrong. I don't want to lie anymore. It doesn't sit right with me anymore. So it's like that change.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just feel like, I'll be honest, I just feel like that's total, like, you're always going to be tempted. It's always going to be, it's going to be harder when you're a Christian, because now he's pushing you even harder to make you fall, Mm-hmm. So you're going to get tempted through all of this. It doesn't matter what it is, sexual or whatever, you checking people out or whatever it is, or, yeah, you're always going to have that temptation, and that's part of being single.
Thank you very much. No, before, just a second to kind of address this. The issue is not the temptation, because it's natural. Temptation comes with desires. Here, the Bible says pretty clearly, Jesus was tempted just like all of us. And Paul says, the book of Hebrews says, like he was literally tempted in every single thing that you guys were ever tempted in. That all of us have ever tempted in. The only thing that he managed to do is to prevail. That's the difference. But the issue is not the temptation. The temptation is natural. The only time that you have no temptation is when you're dead.
So he was in Israel, right?
He was what?
Jesus, right?
Yeah, he was a Jew.
So he didn't see Latinas, so he was never tempted with that. different story.
They're all covered up. Jeez. Well, technically, all of the Latinas I know are covered up as well. So maybe you're just hanging out around wrong Latinas. Yeah. So it's not about Latinas. It's about something else. Who had a hand up?
The example that came to mind was a rich man living for himself, which like trying to conquer the world, desires of the flesh, and then by the Spirit would be realizing, giving back, donating, trying to help just like Jesus would. So it's like leaving it to this world and trying to be the best person that they could be, and realizing by the Spirit it's like they're going to have a separate life in heaven.
Thank you very much. Here's a great example that Victor just brought up. You remember the story of Zacchaeus from the Bible. So the short tax collector. Oh, you had him in mind? Yeah. Okay. Okay. But that's a perfect story. But you had your hand up as well, right? Okay, just a second. So it's a perfect story because it actually explains the shift from flesh to spirit.
I was gonna say that when we walk by the Spirit, it's not even so much that we like become sinless; we just sin less.
Okay. That's also a good point. But here is the reason behind it. So Zacchaeus was short, that's how the Bible describes him, but also describes him as being despised by the community. Because nobody wanted to let him go through and see Jesus, obviously. So he decides to kick his pride away and climbs a tree, which was very derelict. At the time it was like momentarily, like you run outside in your underpants with a clown mask on. That's pretty much what he looked like to his to the society at the time. But this is the thing. Jesus sees him and he's like, come down. And he tells him, son of Abraham has found his way back home. Paraphrasing. And in that moment is where the shift happens. Because here's the thing. Before that, Zacchaeus, all that Zacchaeus was, it's my two hands, I'm going to make it happen. You know, it's all up to me. Now he comes to realization, it's not all up to me, it's actually up to God. You know? Yeah, I'm a part of it. You know? His desires shifted not because he lived, not because anything else changed, but the mentality of scarcity shifted into mentality of abundance. He lived very scarcely with the desires of his heart to be accepted by the society. And suddenly Jesus does exactly that. And his mentality of abundance drives him to, he says like, I'm gonna, anybody who I ever ripped off, I am paying them 4 times, and whatever I have left, half I'm giving to the poor. Why? I'm good. I am good. Because I know that God is on my side.
I was going to also point out that it does say, like, you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say you will not have the desires of the flesh. It just now says that you understand you have them, but you're not going to gratify them anymore. Because conscience stuff.
And it's not even just the conscious stuff. It's like the desires of the flesh are going to be there, but they're not going to be gratifying anymore. It's going to be like, if I succumb to this cookie, I'm gonna enjoy these 5 minutes, but I'm gonna hate myself for the rest of the day. And the realization becomes really clear. I need you to expand your horizons and hear this as an opportunity of a new reality opening for you.
Every single day.
Now, okay, it's 11:30, time for us to wrap this up. I literally have like 5 more slides that we're supposed to go through. Huh? Go real quick now. Yeah. No, yeah.
So if you're essentially, as long, pretty much just try to get, how do you stay with God? Because it's never a persistent thing. It's always like a up and down with God, you know?
It's a choice.
And I think with everyone, if I'm not right, everyone in this room has been really close to God and really far from God. But I'm not sure if it's just me or it's like it's never consistent. It's good for a few months and then it goes down, and it goes up and it goes down.
One thing that I've learned from my personal experience, and we talked about it, I actually talked to you guys about it last year. I had my downs, and I had some like really deep downs where I had a whole season of my life not reading the Bible, not praying, not even trying to communicate to God because I found it futile. And during that period, I was still an associate pastor in Arvada. I was playing guitar with the praise music and preaching, literally, I kid you not. I was preaching sermons out of reminiscence of my spiritual experience before, because I had none in those moments. So I understand that, but here is what I also understood as well. So spirituality is not something that is constant. I'm here. Okay, cool, now I'm here. Spirituality is like the ocean waves. It keeps moving. And if you're on a surfboard, you can let the waves toss you back and forth, or you can try catching the waves. And then you see another one, and you catch that other one to see where it's going to take you. My experience with spirituality is, don't get stuck on same methods and think that they're the only ones that are out there. Like, what do you usually, when I have Bible studies with somebody who wants to get baptized, first thing I tell them, like 3 spiritual practices that you have to engage in daily is prayer, is reading the Bible, and talking to people about your faith. But that is the bare basics of experiencing spirituality. Spirituality evolves and grows, and you have to deepen your experience. I started telling you about this prayer of presence, being silent before the Lord. I started doing that last year, and it completely changed my communication with Jesus. I kid you not. Then I started expanding into the Adam's prayer, what we did this morning. And again, it completely changed my spiritual concept, not just how I'm connected to God, but how I'm connected to you guys, how I'm connected to the world around me. It's crazy. You see that Jesus loved everybody, and you think like, I mean, that Jesus can do that, I can't do that. But that's the thing, I came to realize that I can. But the realization came once God gave me the clarity that all of us share the same breath of God. As much as somebody annoys me, well, we share the same divine element in us. I can't allow myself to be annoyed by Dickie because he's a Dickie, you know? Because he doesn't reply to text messages, for example, or doesn't return calls. I'm going to call you and text you today. So just give him a heads up. But no, Dickie responds excellent in the time of crisis. But when everything seems fine, you're like, ah. But you get my point. So actually, you get my point, I hope, Philip. Because the idea of spirituality, it's not something like, for example, you don't eat the same meal every single day. Try eating Chipotle for 2 weeks, no matter how awesome it is. Ugh. This is the same. Ask, seek, knock. It will be answered. You will find it. The door will be open when you seek spiritual experience that is going to help you deepen your relationship with God. So, of course, we allow ourselves to have these deep ups and downs, but if you seek variety, if you try to find different ways to connect to God, one cool thing that again I realized is that these periods shrink. The time longer, closer to Him, I have a dip, but very quickly I become aware of it. And I'm like, I'm back to it. It takes effort, but it's an amazing thing that happens. Like, we don't hang out that much. I used to be, until like 2 years ago, very depressed, very negative, very, like, I put my best face for an hour, 2 hours, and then go back to my misery. Like it's all gone. Like God took it all away. I was just this last couple of months, February, March, April, like so many things are going to change this year. And you know change is uncomfortable. And you never know where change is going to take you. But I'm so amazed with life. I see wonder everywhere. I drive and I just laugh at things that I see around because it's like either it's the skies or the clouds or the people or whatever, you know. But I'm constantly present. Like God helped me become like present right here, right now. And it's beautiful. It's like amazing. Like the world is full of wonder, positivity, and love. And the only reason we are not connected to it is because we don't seek it. Back to conclusion. Yeah. Back to conclusion, what we were talking about. There is nothing wrong with desiring. If you see yourself as a spiritual being that is finding connection with God, an important thing in their life, use your desires to understand what kind of reality you want to see. And then electrify it. See it in the best possible, pretty much what Dickie was describing, like see it in the best possible, see it as prayers fulfilled. And live your life as prayers fulfilled. Make it, I mean, if you ask God, if you believe that He's going to give, then live it like that. Act as if you knew that He's hearing your desires. And then the whole process shifts into this. Because the closer you are to Him, more aware you are of desires of the flesh, but less desirable they become. They're still there. They're going to hit you. They're going to you're going to have a crisis here and there. But you will not gratify those desires because you find abundance in knowing that God is there to deliver, that He wants to deliver, and that He will deliver. Does that make sense? Okay, next week we're meeting in Nevada, by the way. So they have, over here they have that spring sale. So it's going to be way too noisy for us to kind of deal with it. So I'll be preaching in Nevada, the second part of this. And actually, if you guys want, we don't have the time, never mind. I'll record a couple of videos this week, and I'll post them to kind of give a hint of what the topic is continuous. But the idea is this. In Colossians in chapter 3, Paul describes literally the whole process. Everything we talked about, elaborated how it works step by step.
I have a question, Milosh.
Yes?
How did you get out of your depression? I'm just curious.
How did I get my depression? I realized that there is no God.
No, how did you get out?
Huh? No, but okay. You have to start with how it started. I realized in 2012, I realized that there is no God.
Like you don't believe there's a heaven and hell?
No, it's all figment of my imagination. It's figment of my social conditioning in Serbia. It's not real.
Okay.
And that was my reality. And the problem that I had was I had very genuine spiritual experiences before that. Like I started believing in God back in 1992. I was 14 years old, started developing my faith. And 2012, actually, it took a couple of years to get to that point. But there was a moment of epiphany in December 2012 where I just realized, like, this is all a bunch of nonsense. Like, I have no reason to believe in any of this. So it completely killed me because it shattered my identity. And that is what actually drove me into depression. Because suddenly, I didn't know who I was. In all honesty, I couldn't be who I was. And I had to figure out, okay, I'm either going to rebuild my spirituality or I'm going to walk away and move on. And I couldn't walk away because God had shown himself to me in the previous kind of decade of my life at a time. More, decade and a half. Numerous times, especially back in the 90s when I started embracing the concept of higher spirituality and presence of God and so on, I had some miraculous experiences, you know? So I couldn't just dismiss them. I couldn't just dismiss this stuff and say, well, that's figment of my imagination, because it wasn't. It was outside of my power, and it was very obvious that something outside of this world interfered with my reality at the time. Nevertheless, I had no idea what to believe. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea who I should be. I even had no idea if this God that I believed in is real in a sense of, okay, if there is God, but God that I believed in, that's not the real, maybe that's not the real God. There might be God up there, but he could be completely different from what I believe. So, again, it took years to rebuild. But what got me out, what got me out is the moment, and that was 2019. That is when things started looking up. What got me out is the moment I forgave myself. Because I was constantly, for years, bashing myself for losing what I lost. Until I realized that in order for me to grow and rebuild, I had to shatter everything I was, because I was packed in this box that was keeping me in. And shattering of the box I saw as the most devastating thing in my life, but actually it was the most liberating. It just took me years to understand that. And then when God brought me to that clarity and realization that this is exactly what needed to happen, I remember, like, over there in Westminster, like staring in the mirror. It's like Jasmine is asleep. It's like 5:30 a.m. The dawn is kind of kicking in. I can't sleep. And I just had this realization that I have no reason to hate myself anymore.
I mean, not for the other reasons, but yeah.
No, for any reasons whatsoever. No, but that's the thing. Like, I always had a reason to hate myself. And I always had a reason to bash myself for this, for that, for whatever. No, not even hard on myself, but simply, literally reenacting my childhood memories with my father, ironically, you know. But the moment of freedom came when I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, I love you, man.
We'll start kissing the mirror.
I wanted to hug it.
Yeah.
You know, but and it's one of those moments where you can't rationally always explain what happened. You can just describe it. And now looking back, I still don't understand how could I instantaneously be delivered and relieved from years-long pain and burden and scarring It was God literally, it was like,
I feel like I'm in that process right now.
just God.
So I feel that I just can't do it in 5-6 years. I gotta do it quick.
It's not, so,
And it takes time.
no, here's the thing. And I'm sorry, Josh. There is no time. That's the problem. That's another problem. And I was going through that where like I got to get my shit together. I got to figure. Beep. I gotta I gotta figure this out. And things were just going. The more I tried, the less I succeeded, until I let it go. Okay, whatever it takes. Wherever life takes, and this is the thing, like at that time, Jasmina and I were really trying to kind of rebuild the life, bless you. You know, so 2012, yeah, that's interesting coincidence, but we got green cards. I got my real estate license 2013. So we wanted to kind of, okay, let's make something, you know, let's make money, let's make American dream and so on. And I was absolutely not up to it. And Jasmina is like, you know what, we can't rebuild anything together until you rebuild yourself. So she started taking me places. We were just traveling everywhere, spending our money that we were saving, you know, for the house, for this, for that. We're like, hey, let's go to Norway, bam. Let's go to Iceland. Let's go to Costa Rica. Let's go to wherever, you know. And it's so interesting, like me, when I recall those trips, like she was really trying to help me get an environment where I'm going to see myself differently. And I remember some of those trips, like, it's amazing. Like, you go to Iceland and you feel that, like, the mist from that, like, 300-foot waterfall just splashing all over you and fills your lungs, and your body feels amazing, and your mind is like, I just want to die. But the key thing for me was everything started in that moment when I just forgave myself. And I'm like, whatever happened had to happen that way. And wherever I am right now, this is where I start to rebuild. And it was just gone. It was just gone. And God made himself tenfold more obvious to me in the past half a decade of my life. Tenfold. It's insane.
I feel like I wanted to highlight like that oftentimes with like people with depression, like depression we classify as like kind of just like being stuck in the past or like looking towards the past, and like I kind of heard in your story, you know, like you were able to forgive yourself, and I think even like with some people it's even forgiving others, but also like it's the awareness of like what you have to forgive too, and that's sometimes the thing that we often avoid, of like, you know, oh no, like that didn't impact me, but sometimes you just have to like be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, that did impact me, and then you have to choose like to be like Christ and forgive others or forgive yourself even for the mistakes you have done. But it's like God wants that for you, you know, like he has already forgiven you. It's just like we don't believe it often.
And that is the root of all of the issues in our connectedness with God, and it correlates very well with what we talked about. That we know that this is, like Jesus says, what I mentioned this week on Instagram. Jesus says, I came to bring life in abundance. We read it, and we hear it, and okay, this is the biblical truth, but we don't really believe it. And it's the same thing with this. I had to forgive my father a year after he died. And that was in like February 22. And I had that same attitude, like brushing it off. Yeah, that's fine. I didn't really. That was my childhood. It was like, but no, after he died, it took me a year to realize actually all of the trauma that I had to shed, not by confronting it, but by letting it go.
Yeah, and I just want to confronting it is sometimes only the first step. Because again, we just avoid it so much. Sorry, I knew to speak. But like always, I think like the ultimate last step is like, well, also letting it go, like being an overcomer out of it. And oftentimes that's like forgiving that person, you know, and forgiving yourself too, if you have to forgive yourself. But it's like confronting it is the first step, which is often the hardest, and maybe like that's how people see therapy. But it's like, well, ultimately you want to get past it. Like you're not trying to stay stuck and be like, poor me.
Yeah,
You know, it's like, no, it's like, no, I'm an overcomer of this, like, and I can forgive them, and I can have understanding for, like, why they did this to me, too. It's like compassion, really. And it's like, a lot of the psychological world is not biblical, but, like, if you look at the Bible, it just matches up really well with, like, how God, like, what God does for us, too. And, like, how he brings us to redemption. And
it's no accident that we are described as children of the light, when there are no shadows. Because what really eats us up is the shadows we didn't face. And the moment you face your own shadows and start admitting, start confronting, and then start letting it go, oh my goodness. And then when you create a habit out of that, it's amazing.
then you can start laughing about it in a way, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
It was painful then, but now, like, looking back, it's like, oh, I can laugh about it. Which is just a weird, I don't know how to explain that one, but
No,
it is
but
something
true.
that
The moment you
happens.
get to the point you can laugh about it is the moment when you know that you really completely and fully close that chapter. Okay, let's have a prayer, and then we have 7 minutes to pack everything up and close the door. Dear Father, it's so amazing to know that you're on our side, but you're actively engaging in trying to get us to free ourselves from the bondage of the matrix of the world we live in, and free ourselves from false beliefs and false understandings of how amazing you actually are, and how amazing life is, and how beautiful it is to be alive. So right now, as your Spirit descends upon us, may your clarity come. May you wake us up, and may you keep us awake. Amen.
You're teaching me with my imperfection.